Yeah, we're just at.
When I saw the M22 challenge, it was one of those where it wasn't like a traditional triathlon or even a sprint triathlon. It was one of those that was a little bit off the beaten path. You have to run up the dunes and that sort of thing. So that kind of intrigued me, and then the paddling aspect. I love to kayak and all that too. So those two things were a little bit different from the normal. And then I love to cycle, and I love to mountain bike and all that sort of thing. So all of that was pretty comfortable, but there was some stuff that was different about it. So the big thing was is I'd never done anything more than like a 5K, and I've always been a very physically active person, but like the challenge of doing something different and doing something new intrigued me, and I've like found myself in a spot where I wanted to challenge myself and pursue new things, and kind of really see what I was capable of, even now, because I've always kind of pushed myself in that way, but to do some different things and see what I could do. So I've always been pretty active, and all that. Like even before my accident and becoming an amputee, I was always pretty active, and I cycled a lot and mountain biked and kayaked. So I went to the gym and all of that. So I've always been pretty active, but this is kind of requiring a little bit different approach to it, just because you're doing so much activity in such a short amount of time. So for this, when I kind of approached it or went into it last year, I really focused on cycling and getting the distance down and getting my leg kind of in shape for that. I didn't do a ton of running, but when I completed through it, it kind of gave me that reassurance, like, of course, I'm capable of doing this. I knew I could do it. But this year, I kind of took the approach that I want to be a little bit more competitive at it. I didn't want to just finish. I want to better what I did last year. So I started researching more into like triathlon training specifically. So this year I really ramped up running and my distance running and all of that. A lot of people hate running. I like to run. And I ran a bunch before my accident, and then becoming an amputee, I really hadn't ran or even pushed that kind of envelope. So that's kind of what I've focused more on now, was running, and that was like the one thing that I had to kind of come up to speed with and kind of figure out with being an amputee now. So that was kind of like the first and foremost coming into the first of the year. Was I was starting to run more and learning how to run with the prosthetic and getting more comfortable running, and getting to the point of being able to, like, I could do short distances and that sort of thing, and all of that, like understand the mechanics of running. But running long distance with a prosthetic is a totally different animal. So that's kind of where I was intrigued into like changing my training and being more focused on the things that I knew I could do better on, and that maybe I didn't focus on enough last year. One of the big things that Chris has done, or Perry Prosthetics has done, is really helped me understand what I need. And then working with Chris has been great, specifically because with him being an amputee himself, he understands all the ins and outs of what I'm trying to describe or explain to him. And I've worked with Mike and everybody too. So like both of them are really good at kind of taking the feedback that I'm giving them, and making adjustments or making, corrections or whatever I need. But we also went through a lot of test sockets, and I've got quite a bit of nerve stuff going on, with a nerve being wrapped around a bone, and or a full nerve pack being wrapped around a bone. So we had to make some relief points in there, and that sort of thing. So they've been really good taking the feedback and making adjustments and modifications and so forth in the areas and the stuff that I needed to be able to get sort of comfortable. It's a weird thing with being an amputee and trying to compete or trying to do stuff at this level. There's a little bit of discomfort that you're going to run into anyways. But finding the most comfortable fitment and so forth has been really key, and Perry has been great about that. So they typically have around 900, 850 to 900 participants in it, and so last year I kind of surprised myself in the sense that I wanted to just finish. That was my main goal, just to get to the point of being comfortable enough to finish and that sort of thing. And actually did better than I really thought I would. I still had higher expectations for myself to do more. But last year, out of 900, I was in the 500s, mid 500s. And I wasn't even the last in my age group either. So that made me feel pretty good, but it also showed me that there's room for improvement. And the ceiling is higher than I even thought. Not the ceiling, but the opportunity was even higher than I thought, as far as what I was capable of. The most daunting part of the M22 challenge is the dune run, or the climb. For the average person, you have an ankle and you have a foot that can adjust, and you can pivot different ways, and the sand isn't you can adjust to the curvature of the sand or the unevenness of the sand and so forth, and climbing and descending are easier for someone with two great ankles. When you're an amputee, you can't make those adjustments to an uneven surface as well. So you're really relying on your full intact leg. And then on your amputated side, you're relying on your prosthetic 100% and the capabilities of that leg. So the sand is probably definitely the hardest portion of it. And then as an amputee, cycling is pretty challenging because of the articulation in actual pedaling. So did all three portions on the same leg, or the same foot. So that really speaks volumes to Perry Prosthetics. I've always tried to challenge myself and learn more, achieve more, that sort of thing. So if I can do it physically or learning something, educationally or whatever, if I can learn a new trade or accomplish a new challenge, that's something that attracts me. And as an amputee, I think it kind of lit that fire even more to kind of see what I was capable of physically with this new life that I'm on, or we're in. So as an amputee, it just kind of it magnified that even more in me. So I don't know that there was one thing that just kind of clicked one day. It was just the aspect of challenging myself and seeing what I was really capable of, and I think the more and more I see, through social media and everything else, you see really two sides of the amputee life. And from one perspective, I sat at the hospital in this new reality of mine, looking at what the amputee life could be, and through social media and so forth, and trying to learn about becoming an amputee, because it was an overnight thing for me. It was an immediate traumatic amputation, so all of a sudden I was an amputee. So trying to learn as much as I could, I saw one aspect of it where a lot of people just say, well, it's a life, at least I'm still here, and kind of accept their reality in the fact that they have new challenges and that they might not be the same person that they were before. And then seeing the other flip side of it, you see the extreme end of it. And you see people still accomplishing great things and just pushing themselves physically. And so that aspect of it, the two different ends of the spectrum was there's very few amputees doing that, and a lot more amputees on the other end of the spectrum that were just accepting life as it is. And so when I saw that, I thought, well, we need more amputees that are pushing the envelope of what not only amputees are seeing, but the average person is seeing. And that was really inspiring to me, is like just seeing what some people push themselves and found capable of. And the other end of the spectrum was, well, I think maybe we need a little bit more positivity and a little bit more inspiration to show, the average amputee that we are capable of more.
This year, transitions were better, the run was better, but yeah, I felt pretty strong this year. There's always room for improvement, but definitely a huge improvement from last year. And having support means the world to me, because especially my wife, and she sees all the ups and downs with it all, and seeing like my good days when I'm feeling strong and feeling, had a good training session and so forth, and then seeing my bad days when nothing went right. So to have her here and have her, hand in hand, or have my back, through this, and her support on it means the world to me. And then, just having friends and stuff around that kind of know, the path and the journey and stuff that I've been through to get to this point is a huge help. It just kind of motivates me to keep pushing even more. Being the only amputee is kind of like a little bit bittersweet, because you don't have another person that you can kind of have that camaraderie. But it's also like, I don't know, in my competitive mindset, it kind of feels good being the only amputee and being out here and like competing and ranking, with able-bodied individuals, so it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of that like a little bit bittersweetness, where I'd love to see more, and that's why I love to do these things and challenge myself. But to bring a little bit of like light and a little bit of inspiration to like people that maybe are looking for that, that we can compete and we can do that, and that sort of thing. So if I can inspire other amputees to get out of their comfort zone and challenge themselves in it, that's kind of what drives me to keep doing it.